Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Devin Adams. I'm a Fortinet instructor here in Tempe, Arizona for Dynamic Worldwide, and this is the second video in the SD WAN FortiManager demo. Frankly, guys, I've ran out of time, so I am just gonna give this thing a shot. Okay, if I can't get it working, obviously I'll have to wait, and you'll probably never see this. Anyways, basically in our last video, we just brought in the devices into the FortiManager, right? And we kind of poked around to where those SD-WAN settings were in the FortiManager. And in my previous videos, I showed you how to set up SD-WAN using just the FortiGates, but not the FortiManager. I will actually keep this topology alive a little bit longer than I usually would. When I get back from teaching and everything like that, I'll go ahead and I'll try some of the VPN stuff. I noticed that there was already comments about that, and I'll just see how far we can push it. All right. But for right now, I at least want to give the SD-WAN deployment a shot. Okay, so each one of these FortiGates that are supposed to be our remote ones, okay, those have no policies on them yet. All right, and on top of that, there was just enough configuration to get them back to the FortiManager at headquarters. Okay, now these are our make-believe public IP addresses, so each branch office is going to have two public IP addresses from two imaginary internet service providers. And at headquarters, we actually have three here. We have this one, and this one. And these three are supposed to represent three different connections coming into the FortiGate headquarters. We have not configured these two yet. All right. That's one thing that we're also going to do. I'm going to show you how to deploy the SD-WAN on a FortiGate that already has a policy in place. Okay. Let's just dig in there and let's just go to town. So let's give it a shot. Here we go. So let's load up our management PC and let's log into the FortiManager and see where we left off. All right, here we go. Oh, okay, rock and roll. Let's do this. Maybe. It'll load up, I promise. All right, there we go. So let's type in admin and let's do our password. All right, and we'll see what's going on here. And for some reason, everything just seems to be going a lot slower than it's supposed to be. Now, I'm actually accessing this from the outside, so I'm going to have to go through the FortiGate HQ to do it. So I'm actually going to open up this bad boy and just connect to it using 10.0.1.241. And this could just simply be a limitation of my lab environment, guys. But obviously I'm just doing this on the fly, so don't have time to troubleshoot it. So here we go. Because that FortiGate HQ is acting a little weird. But we shouldn't have a problem. So here we go. Let's go ahead and take a look at our devices that we married in our last video. Okay, so it looks like we do have some devices here that are being managed, okay? And the device database has been brought in from the 4 different devices, all right? And the FortiGate HQ, that's the only one I believe that we have any kind of policy package on. So I'm actually going to right-click this bad boy, and I'm going to do an import policy package and bring in the policy packages, okay? I'm pretty sure I just did a generic internet access. Port 1, we'll map it to WAN. These are just names that we're going to use for our dynamic mapping. I better say WAN 1 because we're going to have 2 others. All right. Okay, so looks like we do have a conflict. So let's go ahead and view that conflict. And it looks like there is some options on the FortiGate side that's not in the FortiManager's database, so I'll just take them from the FortiGate side. Not a big deal. All right, we'll go ahead and bring those in. Okay, awesome. So there you go. We should get a sync across the board. What? Nice. But look what happens when we try to do it for these devices that don't have any policy packages. It should just error out. At least the older versions would. Oh, you know what? It did. All right. That's cool. That works. Okay. But there's still no policy packages, so there's nothing for it to make. There's no firewall policies, but it did bring in the objects, which is kind of cool. I swear in older versions it would just say there's nothing to import and just kind of leave it there. Um, but sure, you know what? We can do it for all of them then. So, um, sure, why not? Here we go. Import the policy packages. It doesn't matter because we're going to be doing it through the SD WAN here pretty soon. So, all right, and that's exactly why it's saying there's no interfaces being found, because there's no firewall policies. All right, so the only one that's here should be like the implicit deny. So it's probably the only thing it's really bringing in. So um, here we go. All right, we'll take the one from the FortiManager side because we really don't care. If it gives us a cert error, we'll just delete it out of the database. All right. All right, here we go. I was actually pretty surprised that it let me do that, but that's okay. All right. And we'll do the last one here. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Sure. So there we go. We're synced all across our different devices, but I promise you, I mean, and we can actually test this out ourselves. I'm just going to grab a web term box here, which is enough to run just Firefox, and I'll plop it down here. And let's see, I'll just pick on Miami. So let's do a configure. We'll just call this PC Miami for a test, and we'll give it a 10.4.10 and a default gateway of 10.04254, and we'll just use Google's DNS. Thank you, Google. All right. And I'm just gonna kind of prove that, you know, there's nothing going on in these branch offices yet. But our goal is to get those two interfaces into an SD WAN. All right. So we'll plug that bad boy in. Then we'll just turn it on. And in the meantime, I know it's silly, but I'll change the icon. There we go. So I mean, we're not going to get anything. So because there's no firewall policies. All right. So let's go ahead and mess with the SD-WAN options. So once again, if you do not see the SD-WAN here, make sure that you go into your system settings and you go to your ADOMs. Now, if ADOMs aren't turned on, you still have the root ADOM, which is going to be the ADOM that collects the FortiGates by default. All right. So you should at least have one in there. But just open up this bad boy and make sure that you have your SD-WAN option selected. All right, so it appears in the GUI. Okay, so once that's done, you go to Device Manager, and we go to our install wizard. No, we don't. What am I talking about? We go to our SD-WAN. My bad. And let's go ahead and make a new template. So we're going to call this SD-WAN Miami, if I can spell it right. Miami. Okay. And if you notice, we don't have any interface members, all right, or rules. And I just realized, you know what? I probably should map the interface members first. So why don't I do that? So let's go to interface members and say create new. All right, we'll call this WAN. Here we go, WAN 1. And our default interface is going to be port 1. And our gateway is going to be 10.200. What are my IP addresses in Miami? 7 and 8. 7.254. Okay. Give it away to 1. That looks good. Okay. And believe it or not, we can actually do this per device too. I didn't realize that we could do that. That is awesome. That has to be new. Let's try it out. Oh, you're kidding me. That is awesome. Okay. I was going to say, this is a newer version for me too, guys. So let's go ahead and do Miami. All right. Oh, see, there's the interfaces. Port 1, we'll say the gateway is 10, 200, 7, 254. Okay. And then we'll do a plus here, and we'll say Miami, and we'll call it port 2. Okay. And we'll say the gateway is 10.200.8.254, right? Create new. Did that take? Oh, I get it. We have to do it per interface. Okay, okay. I gotcha. So port 1 for Miami would be the 7254. And then I'd have to go ahead and do the port 1, which would be the WAN one, right? In Dallas, which would be my 10.203. By the way, guys, I'm doing this like at 2 in the morning. So sorry if it's a little bit out there. So here we go. 10.200.3.254. All right. And you know what? We'll just rock and roll it. So, and then New York, which will be port 1, which will be 10.200.1. No, it's not. It's New York. So it's 5. Okay. Oops. Sorry. 5.254. All right. And all we're missing now is headquarters. So we'll say in headquarters, right? We'll say port 1, which is 10.200.1.1. Nope. 254. My bad. It's the next hop to the internet service provider. So they provided us with an IP address, 10.200.1.1. The next hop, right? The default gateway for these internet service connections on our make-believe IP addresses are 254. That's where I'm getting it, by the way. Okay, so we got all the devices. It's WAN 1. All right. And because it's per device mapping, I'm just going to leave this the quad 0 if it lets me. Okay. And there we go. So let's go ahead and create WAN 2 now. All right. WAN 2. And we'll say for Dallas, it's going to be port 2. And I'm just double checking. It's going to be the 4. All right. So we'll say 10.200.4.254. All right. And then we'll say our HQ, which will be port 2, which is 10.200.2.254. All right. And then my Miami, which is going to be our 8. So port 2, 10.200.8.254. All right. And last but not least is the 6 over there in New York City. So here we go. Okay. So 10.200.8.254. All right. Sweet. Now we'll have something to select. Oh, my bad. Port 2. Now we'll have something to select when we actually make our template here. So let's go ahead and just make that template for our Miami place. All right. So we'll say create new. We'll say SD WAN. Create new. WAN 1. Dude, can we do it now for everyone? Because that is awesome if we can. Oh, it almost looks like we can. That is just awesome. Okay, we'll leave the load balancing one, but let's go ahead and do a service SLA while we're at it, and we'll have it ping out to we'll just say something like internet QoS, right? And we'll ping, and let's see here. Do we have to create the health check monitors before? Oh, of course we do. Lame. All right, here we go. So these are what's going to control the measurement of the quality of the link, and usually it'd be like to maybe the connection to the data center that's hosting the service, or something. Okay, here I'm just doing it for the general internet for the sake of time. All right, so I'll just say something like uh, internet QoS. Okay, and we'll say 8.8.8.8.8. Is that too many octets? It so is. And then we'll also do Cloudflare's 1111. And I'm not too sure what this per mapping is. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. You can actually do different servers for different sites. And guys, honestly, this is the first time I'm seeing the 6.2.3, and they just seem to be making this a little bit easier. So, which is pretty darn neat. So now let's go back here though. Oh, no, SD WAN template. There we go. And now we can say, you know, internet QoS. See how we can now select it. And with the members, we can say WAN 1, WAN 2, which will dynamically map them according to the device. Okay. And so if our devices here can't reach out to the internet after these thresholds, it'll actually remove it from its link. So yeah, it's pretty slick. So here we go. So let's go ahead and see if we can't deploy this out. So let's go ahead and is there an assign to device? And there is. So let's go ahead and assign this to our Dallas HQ, Miami. And I'm wondering if we should do the headquarters. Let's not do the headquarters quite yet, because that's the one that we're actually on, right? Did that work? Oops, there we go. I'm not seeing anything. Here we go. Do I have to like drag it over or something? Available templates, 1, 2. Oh, you have to double click. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's interesting. All right, there we go. Okay. All right, so technically speaking, that should be it for at least the first part. Now we have to make the firewall policies, all right, and also the default routes. So the next stop is going to be to go to our policy and packages, all right. We'll make a new policy package and we'll call this SD WAN, okay. See how it did only bring in the implicit, so that's what I was kind of figuring. So we'll say new though, and we'll just call this SD WAN branch. Okay. There we go. And then we will say new policy. And we'll just say internet. I know this is bad, guys, but bear with me. All right. So, and when it comes down to it, though, we're just going to say, hey, you know what? As long as the incoming interface is going to be our LAN, all right, our outgoing interface is going to be our SD-WAN, okay? And then after that, we'll say destination address all, source address all, okay, that looks good. We'll say accept, all right, we'll turn on NAT, okay, that looks all right. Now we do have a problem though, because LAN hasn't been defined for every single device. So we're gonna have to come up here to our objects, and we're gonna have to go to LAN. And we already have it for HQ, which is port 5, but we're going to have to go now and select Dallas and go to port 3. All right. Cool. Oh, you know what? That's not the right IP address though. I hope that's I hope that's a what you call it, a web browser error. Here we go. We'll say Miami should be port 3. See? And then also New York City, port 3. Did Dallas never get the right IP address there? Let's take a look. All right, password, config, sys interface, show. You know what? I did. I totally assigned the wrong IP address there. Yeah, you guys see that? 01. Lame. So let's just do a edit port 3. All right, and then we'll do a there we go. We'll just say set IP to 10.0.2.254. There we are. All right. I'll probably have to do a auto update up, but it should actually do that automatically. So there we go. Now I'll be able to match up that LAN. So let me just make sure. All right, cool. See how the change pushed up that fast? Pretty darn neat. So, all right, there we go. So now we have it that far. Okay, so let's go ahead and assign it to our 3 branch offices. So let's go to our let's see here. Let's go to our policy packages. Let's go to install targets. And like I said, we'll just do the branch offices for right now. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. And the reason why it's saying modified, guys, is because all of these settings are being applied to the FortiManager's device database and not to the actual device until we hit OK. So once we hit OK, though, they'll now be a part of that deployment. All right. So let's go ahead and go to Device Manager, and I'm wondering if it will allow us to change the default gateway while we're at it also. So let's go to our device and groups. I'm kind of stretching it here, trying to get this all to work in one shot. All right, so we'll go to Dallas, we'll go to router, we'll go to static routes. All right, and as you can see here, we have the quad 0. All right, now hopefully because it's pointing to the FortiGate's public IP address, changing this will not be a problem. All right, so I know that if you did self-discovery from the FortiGate side out to the FortiManager, it shouldn't be a problem. But if you do it from the FortiManager out to the device here without a public IP address behind a NATed device like the FortiGates, it will drop it because of reverse path forwarding check. So we do not want that. But let's go ahead and create a new static route. All right. And this is for Dallas. So, and the device is going to be SD WAN, and that's actually it. Let's see here. Enable and add at least 1 member. Okay, so we do have to push it down before we do the default route. So let's go ahead and put that static route back in there for time being. No big deal. I was getting greedy, guys. That's what it is. So, all right, here we go. Oh, excuse me. So here we go, and it was 10.200.3.254. All right. Now, normally, you know what? Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to take the safe approach here and delete the default gateways out here because that might actually break it when we push it down because you're not supposed to have anything referenced on these interfaces when you apply the SD WAN stuff. So, and it shouldn't matter because, like I said, it should know the FortiGate's public IP address. So, hopefully, all right. Let's break it. Are we ready? Let's go ahead and go to the install wizard. and we'll say policy package. We'll go to the SD WAN branch. All right, we'll hit next. See how it's just the 3 that we selected. We'll hit next. All right, now normally I'd go through the previews here, but like I said, it's pretty late, and yeah, I'm just gonna roll with it. So, all right, so yes, we know they're different policy packages. That's normal. We'll hit install. We'll just kind of see what happens. All right, but I promise you, these still won't work though until we give it a default gateway. So, it's just didn't have any settings pushed down to it first, so there's really nothing it could do. Even if it errors out here, it might just be for something silly like certs or something like that. We ran into that in class a couple of times. So, all right. Yeah, there's this weird root CA cert that it just does not like for the life of us. So, um, no big deal. We'll just kind of let it sit. All right. In fact, there's no point of watching paint dry. I'm just going to hit pause here until it's done. All right, guys. So I came back and I was afraid this was going to happen. I thought I had solved the problem when I tried this out before, but if you notice, the tunnels did go down. I know exactly why. It's that reverse path forwarding check when I took out the quad zero. So I thought for some reason if the FortiGate was able to reach out to the FortiManager without having to traverse NAT or something like that, it would be okay. It obviously wasn't. And so what happened is that when it applied the default gateway and essentially uh, it lost the reverse path forwarding check to satisfy where it was coming from, it dropped it. So I thought it would reclaim the tunnel though, because that's supposed to, at least in the textbook world, supposed to be what happens. So once it loses the management tunnel after so long, it's supposed to start rolling back the configurations from the other FortiGates. So you can essentially, bounce that connection and get it up. So that's obviously not happening. So we can force it here. And unfortunately, I'm running out of time. But we'll see what happens here. But I don't think it will make it. So if that's the case, there's one more thing I want to try. And this video has been pretty bad because I'm doing it way too late and I'm running out of time. But if you know the public IP address of your FortiManager, you can make a route in your FortiGates to satisfy that reverse path forwarding check and still get rid of the quad zero, because you just simply cannot have the quad zero in there if you want it to work. So that's because the SD-WAN doesn't allow 2 default gateways to happen at the same time. So that's the whole point of an SD-WAN, right? It's supposed to abstract all that. So I'm going to go to my, I'm just going to pick on Dallas. So like I said, though, I mean, if you know the public IP address of the FortiManager, in our case, it's 10.201.241, and we can tell it, right, that port has, uh, or it's expecting that IP address on there, we should be fine. So let's just give it a shot, because I don't really want to give you guys nothing before I disappear for a week. So, but here we go. Let's do a config router static. Okay. See how it did take out my default gateway. All right. But let's go ahead and do a edit one, and then let's do a set, or not set. We'll say set. I think it's destination. Okay, that's what it's called, DST. Okay. And we're saying if you want to look for the 10.200 network, all right, go ahead and give it to that guy right there. On which device? On port 1. I mean, that's not a quad zero, right? And in all theory, we should be able to reach it now. So let's go back to the FortiManager and see if that doesn't satisfy the reverse path forwarding check. So I'm going to go ahead and try to bounce Dallas's connection, okay? And if it gets past 5, we know that, yep, see, it went up. All right, so pretty darn silly, huh? So Once again, so guys, honestly, that looks like it's the missing piece. So just make sure that you have something other than the quad 0 in there to make it work. So let's just do that again, but this time I'm just gonna do Dallas for the sake of uh, the time. Okay, so here we go, and I'm just gonna do Dallas. All right, it says it's down, it's up. All right. So once again, before you get rid of that quad 0, make sure that you have uh, a static route back to your FortiManager to satisfy reverse path forwarding check. So that's really the only place that it broke. And that happened to us in class, actually, when I was doing this with one of my participants who took my class. We were talking about how to transition over to an SD WAN from the FortiManager without having direct access to the FortiGates. And that was pretty much my conclusion too. It was like, okay, we got to figure out some way to reverse path forward check satisfaction without having without having it drop the management interface because it didn't know where it was coming from. So, and this always takes a little bit, guys. So I'm gonna hit pause just to let it pause, and I'll be right back. So. All right, and that was it, guys. So in order to get it to push down, change your quad 0 to a static route pointing back to the FortiGate to satisfy reverse path forwarding check. So as you guys can see, it went ahead and went through, and now we should be able to double click and actually set the quad 0 to the to the SD-WAN. And then once we have the SD-WAN, we can obviously start writing rules, add VPN tunnels to it, which we'll eventually do. I just, like I said, I won't have time until I come back. So, all right, so there you go. Okay, and then now we just have to go back to our device manager, and now you'll see that it's modified. Okay. All right, so let's go to I said manage devices. So let's go ahead and just install the settings. All right. And I owe you guys a better video on this. I promise. It's just my flight leaves like in an hour. So, okay, here we go. So let's hit install. And then hopefully, now that it has that quad 0, all right, you'll be able to pass internet traffic. So in an SD-WAN configuration. And there it is. All right. So, okay. And in the meantime, when it was paused, I went ahead and I moved over the PC from Miami to Dallas. All right, so it took it. And hopefully, we'll be able to do that now. Where is my here we go. So, all right. Nope. Here we go. My bad. Sorry, guys. And as you can see, we now in Miami have internet access. Okay. So, and if you want to, we can go to 10.200.3.1, which I still left the access on. Okay. And we'll do read only. So this is the Dallas one, and we have actually deployed a SD-WAN using the FortiManager. See? Ta-da! Ta-da! All right. So that was crap. I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, I'll re-record it when I get back home. But essentially, don't forget to add your static route back to your FortiManager, or you will lose your connection to your tunnel. So, okay, I've gotta go. So, but you guys are great, and I will see you guys soon. All right, take care.